Soirée's Facebook Live happy hour on World Cocktail Day. Funny how that worked out. I'm not going to say it's not accidental. Let's just go with that. Tonight's Facebook Live happy hour, we are having a little bit of a theme. And I'm taking a riff and a journey with you on the Gimlet. Now, the Gimlet came to my acknowledgement. Oh, I haven't even started drinking yet. It's been a long day. I became aware of the Gimlet when I was reading Raymond Chandler novels. So I'm a huge film noir junkie, and I love film noir and noir detective novels. And Raymond Chandler is one of my favorites. In his novel in 1953, The Long Goodbye, he and one of the other protagonists, anti-heroes, are sitting in a bar and they order gimlets. And the anti-hero protagonist, other than the main character, is talking about the bartender can't make a proper gimlet. And in the novel it says, a gimlet is half gin, half Rose's lime juice, and nothing else. And that was the way the gimlets really were made in the 40s, the 50s. It's probably a little bit sweet for the modern palate, but I'm going to make you one, and I'm going to have some of my guests here try it. Yes, I have some friends here again to play with alcohol and help me along this journey. I have the beautiful Mickey. Woo! I have Kira and Mark, and I hope you're all thirsty because I have 3 or 4 gimlet versions. So I'm going to start with the Raymond Chandler gimlet, and so you just take a shaker and put some ice in it. And I'm going to take, I got these new jiggers. They're really great. They're the Japanese style. And the fun thing about it is it's 1 ounce, 2 ounces, but it also has inside the actual jigger 1.5 ounces. So I can actually pour it up and look. They're really much more versatile than these that I've been using for years. So this is my latest new happy trail I got. So let's see. I got a couple different kinds of gin tonight. I'm really trying to branch out in my gin. I love the St. George's, and I like Hendrick's. Hendrick's is a little more of a floral sweet gin. I also have the Gimlets. I have a couple other versions, but this is what I'm going to start with tonight. So let's try the St. George, because I pull this one out a lot. And we're going to take 2 ounces of the St. George gin. And they're going to go right in here. And then I'm going to grab this little bottle right here. This is Rose's lime juice. This is what Raymond Chandler was talking about. It's been around forever. It's a sweetened, concentrated lime concentrate with like citric acid and extra stuff. And it's excessively sweet. Last time I talked about the grenadine, which is also made by Rose's, also very sweet. You'll find in cocktail ingredients. This is the limey version. I think this is the only drink I actually use this for, is Gimlets. So we're just putting 2 ounces of the Rose's lime juice, the exact amount of the gin, in here, and I'm going to shake her up.
KJ says, OMG, your dress.
Oh, it's actually separates. The skirt is from Pinup Girl Pug. All the ladies here in LA that are less than skinny. No, Pinup Girl has fantastic modern manufacture of kind of retro styles, and they fit every body from an extra small to like a size 24. Seriously. Well made, really beautiful. Love their stuff. Have half of it in my closet. So thank you, KJ. And so I'm going to shake this up. I also got a new shaker because the other one wouldn't open well. Got to update my bar every once in a while. So I don't know if I've talked about this before, but shaken cocktails versus stirred cocktails. So the general rule of thumb, and there will of course be exceptions, is if you're making a cocktail that has citric juice, fruit juice in it, you want to shake it. That agitates everything, foams it up a little bit. If you're making a cocktail like an old-fashioned or a Manhattan, that's a stirred cocktail. You don't need to aerate those. So this, with the lime juice, is our first gimlet. I'm going to put a little lime wheel here and express it a little bit.
What does it mean when you express? You say express all the time.
Depending on whether I have a wheel, which is like this, it's a little piece of the fruit, or a rind or a peel. So if it's a wheel, express really means like squeeze a little bit of the juice into it. If you're talking about the peel, I'm going to do this, apologies to your Gimlet Mickey, you're twisting the peel over the drink, and it actually releases some of the oils, the citric oils in the rind into the drink. There's also another technique that's really cool that I'm a little afraid of because it's fire plus alcohol plus me. Maybe not a good idea, but you can actually do this with like a little torch or lighter, and you flame it. And again, it's supposed to kind of get the essential oils, hate that word, from the citrus rind, and it kind of gets them all over the top of the drink. So you get an additional element of both odor, the smell from the citrus oils, and the flavor. So it's just a neat little way to add a little extra layer to your cocktail. So here you go, Mickey. Would you like to come up and try? This is a Raymond Chandler Gimlet.
Hi, guys. All right.
It's Mickey.
It's me. Raymond Chandler. Okay.
And as I said, this one is a little on the sweet side, so I'm going to take a little taste of this as well.
Oh, it's amazing.
Oh, have you never had one?
I've never
Oh
had
my
it.
gosh. Okay, well then you're perfect to try
It's
this.
so good, you guys. It's very fresh.
It is. These are great summer drinks.
And you know, Chandler was my favorite on Friends. So, I don't know if that has anything to do with anything, but, you know.
Well, he took his drinking seriously both in the novel and in the series.
Yes,
so.
exactly.
Yeah, and actually Raymond Chandler, and we're not going to say anything about the other guy, was an inveterate alcoholic, as many, many authors are. And he liked his cocktails, and he actually did drink a lot of gimlets just in his off time, which is one of the reasons he popped one of these into his novel.
Is this the standard glass you put
These
in?
are coupe glasses. Yeah, that's a great question. I use these a lot for cocktails for a couple reasons. One, they're easy to hold in your hand. They're sized well. So I have a bunch, if you reach down under there, I have a bunch of very large, like crystal martini glasses and glass martini glasses, but they're enormous. And there's a couple problems with making a cocktail that's 7 or 8 ounces. This is probably about 3 or 4 ounces of actual liquid. The really big cocktail glasses, one, unless you're drinking really quickly, your cocktail tends to get warm before you're done. Like, have you ever gone somewhere and your martini gets warm because you haven't had a chance to drink it fast enough?
That's bad news. Well, I've never not drank a martini fast enough.
Oh,
So gone.
I need to work on my efficiency, clearly. But the other thing is if you're serving guests and you're giving them these huge glasses, they feel like they have to drink it. And so there's that danger of like over-serving someone that's not accustomed to the cocktail or a strong cocktail. So this is a way that you can have a little drink and have a little fun and not feel like you've invested in 7 or 8 ounces of liquor.
Right.
Especially with like a martini or a strong spirit-based cocktail. There's a lot of booze in there. So,
The thing I remember about this kind of glass is this was the glass that Rose in Titanic was drinking from. That big dinner scene.
Yes.
She had like a glove.
Yes.
Oh, so good.
Well, and I have to admit that that's one of the reasons I love these. So I started out, when I started out collecting my barware, and if you opened up under there, you'd see all my martini glasses. I started out with the traditional, you know, cone-shaped martini glasses that we're all accustomed to. And I've always loved these when I order a drink like at a craft cocktail bar. And every time I get one of these, I'm like, oh, I need these. And so I think right before the first Facebook Live we did, I ordered a couple boxes off of Amazon, and they were super inexpensive. The other thing I like about these, they're lower to the ground, and there's not so much liquid up here to make them a tipping hazard. We're not going to say that I've had people at my house that have tipped over and broken martini glasses because they're too top heavy.
For shame.
Nah,
Never
no names,
happened.
No names.
No names. So I tend to have less breakage with these because they're like more stable.
Right.
So I'm a big fan of these, and I love that retro feel. Like you said, if you look at like the Thin Man, like the Nick and Nora movies, they often have these little coupe glasses because these were like the traditional cocktail glass that you saw. So I just think they're fun.
Delicious.
Well, I'm glad you like it. I'm gonna go with another version. So
Okay,
stay
so
thirsty.
are you telling me to get off camera?
Well, you can. Either that or you can stay. But I'm gonna be going right behind you. So.
I'll be back.
And I'm working on my gimlet. The next gimlet I'm gonna make, and I'm just gonna dump this out. If you all bear with me.
Danielle Taylor says she loves drinking vicariously through us.
Well, I like that. We like to be able to help you out there. I'm going to make, the next gimlet I'm going to make is more of a modern gimlet. And the difference here is I'm using, in addition to the gin and the roses lime juice, I'm actually using some fresh lime juice. So I'm going to take the cocktail shaker again and add some ice. And we are going to take, I'm going to get a fresh jigger. We are going to take 2 ounces of gin, and I'm going to try Gimlet's gin this time. This is a really nice gin. This is their silver gin. I actually had a little bit of a quandary when I went to my candy store, my liquor store that I affectionately call the candy store this week, because I'm trying to explore gin. I used to be a vodka girl forever, and I'm really discovering I like the layers, the flavor elements that you get in a cocktail of gin. And it doesn't have to taste like, and this is not at all derogatory towards Bombay Sapphire or Tanqueray, but it doesn't have to taste like that junipery, that really heavy junipery, distinctive ginny taste that we all think of when you first think of gin. So I'm going to encourage you to get a bottle of something interesting. The Hendrix is really beautiful. It has cucumber and rose and floral notes in it. Aviation gin is really nice. I love the St. George's, so I'm just trying to expand my gin horizons.
Danielle asks, what is the most mild gin?
That's a good question. They all have, as far as I know, and I'm like I said, just really learning gin, a similar alcohol content, like proof. So if by mild you mean they don't have that junipery, that really abrasive, assertive flavor note that you get in a Tanqueray, for example, I would say try the Hendrix. That's the one that is just really smooth. Sounds like a really ubiquitous descriptive of anything. But it doesn't have that aggressive juniper note. So I think the Hendrix would be a really great starter gin. I started with this St. George. They have a couple different versions. I have the Botanical. They have a Terroir, which I think has a little bit more of a distinctive flavor profile. The way that I started with this, at the liquor store, they had the 3 different styles of their gin in like a little gift pack. I think it was around Christmas last year. So I got to taste all 3 of the different kinds of gin without investing in a whole bottle. And I found the one that I like the best, and that's the one that I get the big bottle of. But that's a great way to do it. See if your liquor store has either gift packs, or sometimes they even sell those little airline bottles of different boozes. And buy 1 or 2 of them if you want to try something and you don't want to invest in a whole bottle. Alcohol is expensive. It's not cheap to build your bar. So it's a shame to get something that you don't enjoy and feel like you're wasting it.
Is it bad to judge things based on the way the bottle looks?
No, it's not. I bought Saint Germain the first time just because the bottle was beautiful. I still do sometimes. I have to restrain myself occasionally from buying something from a pretty bottle. But no, we do the same thing with perfume.
Right.
You know, you do the same thing with so many things. Packaging's important. Mm-hmm. I like the Hendrix packaging. I think it's really nice. St. George's tends to be a little more classic, understated. But some of the alcohols have really fun bottles. Also, depending on where you're storing your booze, some people have bar carts, or they have like a shelf in their home, or they have an open bar, and you want to display them. So I think it's a great idea to say, yeah, it's important that you like the brand and you like the way it tastes, but why not buy a pretty bottle if you're going to have it sitting out for your guests and people that come into your home to see. So I have the 2 ounces of gin. I'm going to do a half an ounce each of lime juice. This is fresh squeezed lime juice that I did earlier, and I just put it in a little pitcher to make it faster. Now this is a more gin-forward version of the Gimlet. And then I'm going to do a half an ounce of the roses lime juice that we just put in the other one. So same quantity of fresh lime juice to roses. By more gin-forward, I mean this is heavier in the base spirit, the gin, and lighter in the flavoring agent, the roses lime and the fresh lime juice. So the Raymond Chandler traditional classic Gimlet was more lime heavy. Now, full disclosure, I don't do a whole lot of extended shaking here when I have you guys in front of me, because I think it's kind of distracting. So it's a good thing to actually really agitate your shaker or your cocktails a lot. So shake it up more than I am. This is just to give you an idea. So you can see I actually didn't do a bad job with this. There's almost like a foam on the top. And you want to get that. There's no foamy ingredients in here, obviously, but you just added air. You've aerated your alcohol and your other ingredients, and that gives that foaminess. So that's what that is. Here is a little twist of lime. Mickey, you want to try another one?
Sure. All right. All right, here we go.
So this is more like a lime martini.
I'm so glad I did my nails.
Let's not look at mine.
Ooh, this one has more fizz to it, I think.
I think I shook it more.
Mm. It's very fresh as well, but it has a bit of a more forward taste, a little more pointed taste.
That's that. The proportions of the gin are much higher in this one than they were in the other one, and the Rose's lime juice, which you have much less of in here than you did in the other one, has such a sweet flavor profile that it masks some of that harshness of the gin, and harshness is not a bad thing in gin. It's supposed to be kind of assertive. So that's what you get there. It's more like martini-ish versus that. I think that's more like summery and refreshing and a little sweeter. This is a little cleaner and less sweet. If you're
Should the foam last the whole time you're drinking it?
No, it kind of goes away eventually. And it's just, it depends on the elements in the drink. Some of the fruit juices have a head that lasts longer.
It's very fragrant. Has a nice,
You do smell like there's a nice lime
Yeah.
in there. That's very nice. Okay, let's see. I have another one here. I'll hand to Mark.
Sarah, you want one?
No. Thank you.
Someone's got to drive.
Yeah, I'll just enjoy it from behind the camera. Of course,
So
KJ
this
had
one's-
a comment on your head that lasts longer. I knew someone was going to say something, you dirty
This
bastard.
one's also Raymond Chandler, or this one's this?
No,
one's-
no. So
Oh.
the Raymond Chandler Gimlet is the first one I made you. That's
Right.
just equal parts gin and Rose's lime juice. This is like more of a modern take on a gimlet. So if you go to a bar and you order a gimlet, it's going to be closer to this.
Right.
You're probably not going to get the Raymond Chandler version unless you specifically ask for it, because modern cocktail audience isn't as much into the sweet, the heavily sweet profile of the Rose's lime.
But they were back in the day.
Yeah, that was
Right.
that. Well, even in the book, it talks about this bartender makes it well and this other bartender doesn't make it well. So, but I think when I look back at older cocktail recipes in old cocktail books that I sometimes find at estate sales, or if I'm looking online, a lot of the cocktails to me seem to have a much more sweeter profile. Some of them even read desserty. Like if you look at the 50s, there were a lot of very sweet cocktails. If you look at the Pink Squirrel, the Brandy Alexander, the Grasshopper.
I picture Marilyn drinking those.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was
Fuzzy Mules.
Yeah.
And the-
Right,
yeah,
right.
yeah. But I think it seems to me that from what I read, that cocktail audience had more of a sweet tooth than we do. And I don't.
Well, in the 50s, no one thought sugar was bad.
Well,
Right.
you know what?
Just a
People
free
still
for
eat
all.
bread.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Is I think that we've been taught to demonize certain ingredients or elements, and so obviously restaurants and bars and cocktail places are going to try to work to their audience. Right now, currently in the modern mixology movement and the craft cocktail movement, you've seen in the past several years a big movement towards the bitter Amaros, the bitter digestives, and the bolder bourbon-based or whiskey-based cocktails. So you don't see these quite as much. Something like this. Yeah, it's interesting. Cocktail tastes are like fashion or art or anything. It changes over time. And you actually can watch the evolution of a culture sometimes when you watch what they eat and what they drink and what they wear and what they drive. And it's, for me, it's my version of a little history lesson as you go through time and see what they like. And that's, to me, the fun of the retro cocktails. One of the reasons I love to pull out these old school ones and make them at home and for my guests is you kind of get a little peek back into how it was, and you get to feel that feeling of elegance that we don't always have today, you know? Well, I mean, you do.
It's like we're all in our sweats going
Yeah,
to Target
yeah.
and whatnot. But yeah, exactly. So it's nice to kind of get a little.
I was going to ask you, Mickey. You're a very famous opera singer. I use very and famous loosely, but
Someday.
she is an opera singer.
She is. That's true.
But if you went to a party, an after party, and do you feel like sophisticated now? You know what a gimlet is. You can order.
Well,
do you feel like this is something you could drink at a?
There are actually some famous opera drinking songs.
Are there really?
For example,
I didn't know that.
In La Traviata, for example.
Oh, that's a drinking song?
That's all about drinking.
Oh my gosh!
Really, I need to go to more opera.
Yeah, so it's a cocktail scene. There's also a song in Die Fledermaus, which is called Champagne. I love champagne.
I love champagne.
So there's a lot of party scenes in operas, obviously, because you want to kind of show the grand staging and winding staircases and all that stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of famous big party scenes in operas.
We need a crossover.
Yeah, actually, that would be really fun. One of the reasons I pulled the Raymond Chandler film noir Gimlet theme tonight is I think it's fun to do a theme, and it's whether it's an era or a movie, or we could do drinking scenes in operas, and Mickey could pick some operas.
We really should do that. I had no idea.
Why don't you pick out some drinking scenes, and I'll do cocktails to match them?
Yes,
that would be really fun.
I
love to do it thematically, and if you're having people over at your house, do that. Just pick, it can be something wacky that only you and your friends like, or it can be something more traditional, but sometimes when you pick a theme, it makes it really a lot easier for you, the hostess, to plan the event, and it also makes it a little more exciting and interactive for your guests. And grab a friend that's kind of an expert in the theme that you're doing, like Mickey here in opera, and enlist them to help you get some of the elements of the party put together. It makes it a lot of fun when you have a reason for why you're there drinking. Not that drinking isn't a some reason on its own sometimes.
We did one of these drinking songs for an audience of almost all children.
Oh my goodness.
And so instead of champagne glasses, we came out with juice boxes.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was really cute.
I
and
love
fun,
it.
and the kids
I love
loved
that.
it.
I love that. Well, Mickey, before you scoot, do you have another drink station?
I do. I do.
Before you scoot off camera, since we did mention, Mickey, that you are an opera singer, why don't you tell people watching or who might watch this later where they can find your work?
Well, I work with the Los Angeles Opera, and I work specifically with their community engagement and their education department. And so we do shows all around Los Angeles, and it helps bring the beauty and the art of opera to underprivileged communities, to kids who might not necessarily have a lot of arts in their schools. So we go out to schools in Los Angeles who partner with us, and we do, a lot of times we do English versions, condensed versions of operas that are really famous, Puccini or Mozart, and we go around and we do these condensed versions that kids can understand what we're saying. So it's all been translated into English, and some of the shows we actually have kids learn parts of the show and be on stage with us. So it's a wonderful
really
program.
So you go. Sometimes I see you guys at
like
senior
yeah,
centers. You go do seniors
right.
too.
So we do. We're at community centers. We're at senior centers. We're at kids schools. It's basically ages 3 to 93. So
that's awesome.
We try and get people of all ages interested in opera.
And I think a lot of people don't think of opera as something to explore.
No.
And I can't remember the last time I've been to the opera. The music's really beautiful. And even if I've listened to opera and I have no idea what they're saying because it's in German or whatever, but it's beautiful and moving and can be an incredible exposure if you've never listened to it. Even obviously going to a live opera is the best way because then you get the full experience. But I would encourage people to pull out your Alexa and say, Alexa, play opera, or get your iTunes out, or your, whatever, and try it. Just like trying a new alcohol. Get yourself exposed to something you haven't tried before. You're going to surprise yourself sometimes at how many incredible things are out there that you may love that you didn't think of because you're like, oh, I only like this kind of music, or I only like this. So
right, or people have misconceptions like, oh, it's only for white people, or it's only for old people, or it's only for old white people, but it's not. It's for everyone. And so, just like it's fun to just go to the opera, enjoy something different for once. There are cheaper tickets. I mean, people say they can't afford it, but really there are inexpensive tickets that are available especially to people in the community. If you do a community program, there are some lower price tickets available. So
that's great to know because sometimes the theater or the opera, it is pricey. So if you're trying to experiment, kind of like buying a bottle of booze that you haven't tried before, it's like if you can buy a smaller bottle, if your investment is less, you're more likely to try it than if you have to spend a whole lot of money and you're not sure if you're going to enjoy it.
Right, and people will spend $200 on a ticket to see Beyonce.
Yeah.
That's
so
true.
Well, Mickey, let's not wake up the Bay High. We love Beyonce. She's amazing.
the agency.
I take the fifth.
Yeah, all right.
All right,
So,
I'm gonna make another. Are we gonna make one more?
One more, yeah, we have time for one
Okay,
more.
So I have a cocktail that I have already pre-made, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shake it up over ice and let all of us taste it, and I'm gonna tell you a little bit about it. But I'm not gonna demo it for you because I'm gonna put it on the next Soirée Sips or one of the future Soirée Sips so you can follow along with me. So I had a lot of fun doing research for this Facebook Live happy hour. And I went down the rabbit hole with the Raymond Chandler and all sorts of literary stuff. And as I was Googling this and following this link, I found a link for something called the Hemingway Gimlet. And I'm like, a Hemingway Gimlet? What's that? I've never heard of that. And yeah, it's Ernest Hemingway has his own version of a gimlet. Another inveterate alcoholic author who wrote wonderful books but definitely liked his booze. It has some really interesting ingredients, so I'll give you a little bit of a preview of the ingredients and we'll taste it, but I'll do a live demo in the sips. So you start with a gin, whatever gin you like. You're going to use fresh lime juice. You're going to use a little bit of, remember the Luxardo maraschino liqueur that I used in one of the other drinks? I think it was the Aviation. You're going to use this in here too. It is a cherry flavored, like a kirsch type liqueur. It's not syrupy strong like maraschino syrup from the cherries that you put on your ice cream sundaes, but it's the Luxardo, it's gin, it's lime juice, it's simple syrup, which is basically just equal parts sugar and water simmered down so you really dissolve the sugar, and then cooled. It's a way to add sweetness to a drink without it having chunks of sugar in your drink that won't dissolve. You can do the same thing with honey. I do a simple honey syrup, equal parts honey and water simmered down. You can store those in the fridge forever. I've even frozen them and brought them out. So that's a way to add the sweetness to your drink without having something solid that you have to mix in. And one of the other interesting ingredients in this, and I bought something pre-bottled, is grapefruit juice. So it's a really interesting combination. Let me see if I missed any ingredients. I did a cheat sheet on this because I haven't. Gin, Luxardo, lime juice, grapefruit juice. Yes, that's it. So I am going to take a little bit of ice. I kind of pre-batched this one for everybody here. And mix this up, and then I'm going to make everyone a Hemingway Gimlet. And I tried one before, because sometimes you guys see me say, oh, I haven't tried this one before, I'm going to try it with you. But this one I actually did try, and I found it delicious. See, I'm getting better at not getting the top stuck on my shakers.
I have that problem.
All the time. I actually had to buy some different kinds of shakers, because some of the shakers I was using, just the way they're seated, both this type, the Boston shaker with the top and the bottom, and even the traditional shaker, sometimes the heating and cooling, the cooling of the liquids in there creates like a suction, and you can't get it off. Like I've had that happen to me before. So I've been experimenting with different kinds of shakers that let me actually get things into the glass, and I don't have to fight with it as much as I have in the past. So I may be a little bit messy, forgive me.
So the strainer's like a whole separate thing.
Yeah, so there's all different kinds of strainers. I think I talked about this last time. This is one that I use if you don't have any big chunks of any, I call this a colander strainer. If you don't have any big chunks of anything like mint or fruit or whatever muddled in your drink, this one's fine. If you're doing a cocktail that's got bits of stuff, this is much better, the strainer, the mesh strainer, because then you don't, have you had a drink and then there's like you're picking little bits of things off your lipstick?
I like the pulp and stuff in there.
Oh, really?
Oh, see,
I like a cocktail that eats like a meal.
Oh,
Okay,
I'm thinking I'm getting some fibers.
I guess so. I hated the
You're
lipstick
calling
thing.
it. Yeah,
I don't like
it's
that.
like it gets on your teeth and then
Yeah.
that's what I'm worried about.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take some Luxardo cherries, which are those really nice non-acidy maraschino cherries.
They look like olives.
They do.
They do.
It's because they're not artificially colored like those red ones that you put on your ice cream sundae. So they're a little less festive than the other ones.
They're the Jennifer Lopez cherries, not the Kim Kardashian cherries.
I don't know what she just said.
One is the original and the other is...
Again, I don't know what she just said, but we're going to go with it.
It has to do with butts.
Okay.
No, J-Lo's butt is real.
Yeah.
But there was
Kim's is not.
Okay, but there was an episode, not that I watch it, but where Kim X-rayed her butt to prove that she didn't have implants.
She is a damn liar. She is a liar.
See, kids, you come here for cocktails, and you
It's-
get opera.
No, it's
You
devolved
get
from
butt implants.
Raymond Chandler to Kim
We're
Kardashian.
highbrow, we're lowbrow,
Yeah.
we're every brow.
We own it.
Soirée, look,
It's happy hour.
it's happy hour, and you can be elegant and be a little irreverent and silly as well. So, okay, if you'd like to give Mark one.
Yes.
Maybe he'll share with Kira. Oh, Kira wants one.
Oh, let me. Oh, thank you.
Mickey, and I'm having one too. So this is the Hemingway Gimlet.
This is
Cheers, people.
Cheers.
This is the third one I'm having.
Let's clean that up.
Well, no one said you had to drink to the bottom of each one.
I said I had to.
Oh, okay.
Oh, this is
That's
really
tasty.
interesting.
Isn't that delicious?
Oh, you know what? I love this one.
Yeah, I made it. This is the reason why we're tasting it now, is because a lot of times I'll make you guys a drink that I haven't tried before, and I'll be like, oh, I'm tasting it along with you. But I was really curious about this one. It still has that gimlety feel, but you get the layers of the maraschino liqueur, and it's just, I love this. Like, I'm a big fan of this. I'll be making this again.
Yeah,
This is very light, like
Yes,
summery.
yes.
A good summer drink.
but there's a lot of complexity in it, right?
There is, I think so. And actually, this wouldn't be a bad little after dinner drink for your mom on Sunday for Mother's Day.
Right.
A gimlet
good
would be
idea.
a fantastic post-lunch or brunch drink, especially if you're sitting outside on the patio and you're having a little Mother's Day brunch. It's like Mickey said, they're very light and refreshing and summery. And you can adjust the amounts of simple syrup or Rose's lime to fresh lime juice. So if your mom likes it a lot sweeter, you could go heavy on it. Or if you like it more citrusy, you can just batch them up into each person.
So this Mother's Day, get her drunk.
That's the only way you can handle your mother.
That may be the best gift you can give her.
David Johnson says, is there any drink finer than a simple Jack and Coke?
You know what's funny? Okay, so like I'm having my journey of gin right now. Last year I started discovering brown liquor because for years and years and years I was like a champagne and vodka girl, and that was pretty much it. And so I started with bourbons, and I've started to make a lot of cocktails with bourbon, and I find that I enjoy it. I never thought I was somebody that liked Jack and Cokes or anything. Alcohol is like anything else. You know, cocktails are like anything else. Find what appeals to you and go with it. If you're a Jack and Coke guy or a Jack and Coke girl, go for it. Whatever makes you happy. I do just always like to encourage people to branch out and try something they haven't tried before, which is kind of what this is all about. There's nothing wrong with Jack and Coke, although Maker's and Coke. I think I like Maker's Mark a little bit better than Jack.
Well, David's ghetto.
Oh, okay, well, I guess I'm slightly less ghetto. Maker's Mark, and that's because I think I knew people that drank Maker's Mark, and so they introduced me to it. And now I'm a big, not that it's the same exact thing, but I'm a big Buffalo Trace gal, so a lot of my bourbon cocktails will have Buffalo Trace as the base bourbon spirit. But I still have a long journey to go with the brown liquors. And I don't often demo or serve the 1-2 cocktails at my parties, like a Jack and Coke or a vodka tonic or whatever. Because one, my friends that can't make drinks can make that for themselves at home. So I try to give my guests or my audience something that they don't maybe do on their own already, they haven't tried before. Anybody can take a glass of ice and pour Jack Daniels or Makers and a Coke into it. It's pretty simple. So I'm just trying to show you that there are other options out there, but absolutely do your favorite. I've said this before. Most often, I'm pulling a bottle of Prosecco out of the fridge. That's like my go-to. I don't always make myself a cocktail at home. So I like pop open a bottle and have a little bit of fizz, and I'm done. So.
Do you ever take the elderflower and just gun it?
I don't.
Saint Germain.
I don't. But I love the smell. I will sniff it. I have to admit. But
Yes.
yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
It's very
stuff.
pungent.
So it's glorious. So well,
we're gonna wrap up. Can
yeah.
we give Mickey a chance to tell people where they can find her online?
Yes,
if you want to
please
pop
do.
anything.
Oh,
you
so
have any projects coming up?
MickeyYamashita.com, and I'm also on Facebook and on Twitter. I'm Mickey MIKI 410, and I'm 410 because that is my height. So it's easy to remember.
Tiny dancer.
Well, thank you, Mickey, for joining
Thank
us. And
you,
being a
Mickey.
lovely cocktail person.
Cheers.
Mickey and I have had martinis in bars before, but I
Yes,
don't think you've ever
definitely.
come over and drank with me here. at home.
No.
She'll be
This has
doing a
been
lot
my
of that,
first
and we'll get on our little opera project because I think that would be super
I
fun.
Yes.
love it.
I'm looking forward to that. And thanks everyone for joining us for our ode to Raymond, Chandler, and ode to the Gimlet, one of my favorite classic cocktails. And we'll be seeing you guys soon in about a month with another Soirée Facebook Happy Hour Live. And stay tuned to the YouTube channel at Phantom Sway for our Sips episodes as they come up weekly as well. Thank you for joining us, and cheers. Happy weekend.
Cheers. Happy hour.